Hi, today what I want to talk about is why you're all wrong when it comes to thinking about brand ambassadors, whether they work, whether they're important, whether they should exist. After the intro, we'll get into why. Hi, I'm Pete McConville, and I like to overthink, overanalyze, and basically just pour far more thought into watches than these little pieces of jewelry really deserve. But despite that, I do it anyway. If that sounds like something you're interested in, keep on watching and let's go on this journey together. What I want to talk today is about brand ambassadors and what they're for and how they work and why you should stop saying that brand should stop having brand ambassadors. The first is there's a couple of assumptions about humans that underpin everything I'm about to say. So the first thing is that people are not rational, they rationalize. Most people, most of our thinking is done semi-automatically. It's done really quickly through the hind part of our brain. A lot of it is informed by emotions and patterns and all sorts of stuff. 90% of the real hard thinking we do kicks in after that, really buttressing up and giving us reasons for why we should feel okay about the thing we did anyway. Hence, most people don't rationalize, don't really think rationally before a decision. They just do what they were always going to do and then think about it and rationalize that behavior later. Secondly, no one ever makes a decision because of just one thing. No one ad campaign, no one ad, no one method of selling a product ever is the reason, the sole reason, the only reason someone makes a decision to part with, serious money. There's always lots of little things that add up into making that decision happen. Finally, what I'd have to emphasize is that not everything is about you. Not everything that happens in making those thousands of little decisions is necessarily aimed at you. Sometimes a brand is aiming at a whole bunch of people. That whole bunch of people will have a whole lot of different things they need. The marketing campaign will have components that do work for you and don't work for you. So just because something doesn't necessarily work for you, even at a subconscious level, doesn't mean it isn't working for someone else. Okay, and the next thing is now let's talk about again, kind of the human aspect of this. What is the human process to buy something? What are the steps we go through? The first step is generally accepted as need recognition. This step of saying, I need to have this thing. The second step is normally a search for information, trying to gather information about this thing that I want, and then to figure out what alternatives there might be, and just gather information about that. The next step is to then evaluate those alternatives, to put them next to each other and decide which one I wanted to. The fourth step is the conversion, the decision to make that purchase, the decision, taking your idea that this is the product I want to buy and turning that into the actual sale, the thing I actually do hand over my money. And there is actually a fifth step after you've made that decision, and that the decision to spend money, and that is your decision to perhaps spend more money on a second purchase. Marketing folk actually include that in the purchase to buy. So in other words, when you make one decision to buy, what happens next? Like what happens when you read the reviews on that product after you get home? What happens when you look at, say, the company website after you bought something and realize that they have a really good or a really bad sustainability or diversity program, when you find out after the fact that they're after sales service, that often informs your next purchasing decision. So your first purchasing decision and what comes out of that automatically rolls into your next decision. So in all of those steps, need recognition, gathering some information, searching for alternatives, making that decision to hand over your money, and how you feel about that decision after you've made it, celebrity endorsements, ambassadors, those sorts of things always have a part to play. The parts they play actually fit in a number of those different areas. For example, when you see a celebrity wearing an Omega on the red carpet, you become aware that Omega used to have, say, vintage constellations that really look quite cool. You become aware that there are these other brands. You become aware that there are these other ways of styling a watch, other ways of wearing a watch. Even if it doesn't influence your decision, you become aware of it. It triggers something in your head, and it's now something that you might think about in future. The next thing that celebrity endorsements have been found to do in study after study is they decrease the level of information someone needs to feel like they know about a watch. So in other words, if I see a watch I've never seen before and I know nothing else about it, I might need a certain level of information, a certain level of research to feel I sufficiently comfortable that I trust this organization, I trust where they're from. But if I see a celebrity wearing it for a whole bunch of reasons, what tends to happen with normal humans is you get a sort of a built-in level of comfort with that brand. You can import a bunch of information about that brand by who that celebrity is and so forth. And the research has found that you generally lower your expectations in the amount of, or you lower your requirements in the amount of information you need about that brand. Related to that, science has also found that when a celebrity is attached to a product, whether it's a watch, a car, a perfume, it minimizes what they call the attention drift away from the product, which sounds counterintuitive, but because you would think that people would start thinking more about the celebrity and less about the watch, but that has been shown not to be true. What tends to happen is when you attach a product to a celebrity, that celebrity has a kind of magnetic attraction of your attention. And you will tend to pay more attention to the product because it's attached to something else that you tend to attach your attention to. And finally, what science has found happens with celebrity endorsements is that crucial step of will I spend my money on this, that conversion step 4, the time spent between step 3 and step 4 is dramatically reduced. That when a company can be attached with a celebrity and everything that means, people tend to be more comfortable making the leap from I have decided that this is the product I want to buy to this is the product I want to buy. Okay, so now let's talk about why that happens. Why do we tend to, need less information about a brand attached to a celebrity? Why are we quicker to make that purchasing decision? Again, science comes here and helps us and says that there are really 4 reasons why attaching a celebrity to your product tends to influence human psychology. The first is what they call endorser traits. That is, most of us have an idea of who celebrities aren't real people. They are avatars. They are little containers of our ideas about people. So when you think about Brad Pitt, people don't think they want to be Brad Pitt. In fact, there are some weirdos who do. But generally what happens is and this is a great example, go to ChatGPT, and because ChatGPT, for example, is a great way of capturing kind of the people's thoughts about a person, and just say, give me the top 3 characteristics of Brad Pitt. Give me the top 3 characteristics of Tiger Woods. Give me the top 3 characteristics of George Clooney. Give me the top 3 characteristics of Ryan Gosling. And one of the things you'll notice is what ChatGPT comes back with will almost always exactly mirror what it is the brand is trying to say about itself across the board. So go with Brad Pitt, it'll say something like, I think if I remember rightly, I haven't got it in front of me, it's something like the general consensus is the 3 values that sum him up are authenticity, sort of owning his flaws and moving forward, creative endeavor, and philanthropy. And I think if you were to turn around and look at what Breitling's trying to do, that lines up really well. If you look at, say, Tiger Woods and say, ask ChatGPT, what are the 3 things that define Tiger Woods? They talk about resilience and professionalism and constant struggle to improve. These are the exact things that Rolex likes to be. So the way a celebrity endorsement works has nothing to do with saying you want to be like Pharrell Williams or you want to be like Brad Pitt. What a celebrity endorsement is doing in this case is simply saying, you know, this celebrity, they are an avatar for certain values. We have picked them to represent us because those values align with ours. And the reason why that works is it sort of feeds into our brain's natural desire to shortcut the rational process. We don't have to go off and do a whole bunch of research. We don't have to read, sustainability sections of websites. We can see there is a person that has these sorts of characteristics, it's attached with these sorts of things. This brand saw that was the kind of person who would represent them. I can probably just take the sorts of things I associate with that person and put them with that brand and shortcut a whole bunch of processes. And as we've discovered, sort of lower the amount of research you need to do and speed up the whole process of saying, yeah, this is something I'm kind of going to be into. Once you get past the endorser traits, you then get into just plain old everyday attractiveness. These people are good looking people, or these people attract us in some other way, like we're into golf or we're into whatever. And because we're into golf or we're into tennis or we're into scuba diving or we're into triathlon or whatever it is, or they're just a stunning person, stunningly attractive person, they grab our attention and they drag us to the product. It is that simple. They're the little neon thing in front of a deep sea fish sort of face. They just grab our attention and suck us into the more of advertising and marketing. And the third thing that celebrities can do, and it's also the least important thing, it is also of the 3 things that celebrities do and the way they influence our purchasing decision, it's actually the least effective. And that is what they call the product match. And that is that, and it really only works for actual use, tools. So, for example, product match is a big thing when you're talking about, say, sports equipment sponsors of an athlete. This athlete chooses to use Yonex tennis rackets. He chooses to use Yonex tennis rackets because he is a professional tennis player. A professional tennis player will choose the best products. Therefore, I will take I will want to use what he uses. So product match is a really powerful tool for, as I said, tools, things where there is a really clear line between the person is good at doing something. They will use that specific product. I want to use that product because they use that product. Not really relevant in watches. And it's funny because it's the easiest thing to grab hold of. It's the easiest thing to understand, but it's also the least important aspect of a celebrity endorsement. And that's why when all these people sort of say, for example, Breitling hire Brad Pitt as an ambassador, but Brad Pitt goes off and wears a Vacheron 222. Therefore, he is not a good ambassador for Breitling because otherwise he would choose their watches. That's people latching onto and thinking that the least important role of a celebrity is in fact the most important role of a celebrity. I don't think Breitling could give a shit that Brad Pitt chooses to wear a Vacheron 222, for example. In fact, I think Breitling is really excited by the idea that he wears a VC. This is why. No one is really making a decision about buying a watch because Brad Pitt wears it. What they're excited by, or what influences them, is that a character like Brad Pitt is the sort of character, the sort of traits that person has, is likely to be the sort of person that would like to have something like a Breitling. Someone like that, if they have the money, may well be the sort of person who would also buy a Vacheron 222. So in that way, Breitling kind of gets a 2-for-1. In that not only are they saying Brad Pitt is the sort of person, that sort of authenticity, owning your mistakes, creative endeavor, philanthropy is part of who it is that Breitling is and what we're aiming for. Not only do they get to say that, but they say, if you're the kind of guy who, if you were a squillionaire, would want to buy a VC 222, you're also the kind of guy who's going to want to buy a Breitling if that's all you can afford. So like I said, I don't think they're upset that when Brad buys a VC. I think they love it because it's kind of getting a second-hand endorsement. It's a 2-for-1 deal. So anyway, that's it. That's how I wrap this up. That's why I think celebrity endorsements have a role to play. They are really important in making a big brand successful. You can potentially avoid them if you're a micro brand, and I'll do a whole video on the sort of the upsides and downsides of micro brands one day. But if you are a mainstream brand and if you are trying to appeal to a lot of people and you don't have celebrity endorsements, you don't have good celebrity endorsements, you are really fighting an uphill battle for all of the reasons I've just said. Be really interested in your comments. Leave them in the comments below. If you like what I do here, like, subscribe, do all that YouTube stuff, and I'll see you later. Bye.